As always, new faces every time, so let me introduce. My name is Advait Kurlekar. My colleague here is Eklavya Malhotra. We represent a company called Upon Management Consultants, and we organize these events called Between the Lines, for which you have come today. Quick intro. This is a monthly event, as all of you now have experienced. It's a free event. And what we do is every month we identify a book that is a good book to read. More often than not, it's a recently published book. And for people who have been attending regularly, you know, Eklavya presents a fantastic summary of the book. And post that, based on the topic of the book, we invite people from the industry, and I moderate a panel discussion on the topic. So book sets the context, and the discussion is on variety of topics emanating from the book. So we've been doing it for some time. Somebody asked me whether we've done 10 years. No, October 2017 is where we started. And for some other reasons, we've done multiple events. So today is event number 118. So, thank you. So, you know, for people who have been attending regularly, I joke with them sometimes, but it is happening today that thanks to Eklavya's summary, I always fear that people will walk out after the summary and not wait for my panel discussion. Today, for some exigency that he has in mind, he has to walk out after his own talk. So we will excuse him from that, but it has nothing to do with the panel discussion. Talking about the topic today and the book today, or the panel discussion topic, it is about startup to scale up. And it's a topic very close to my heart because, as we were just joking the other day, as Upon, we've never scaled up. So it's a very interesting thing to say how to scale up kind of thing. So we have three wonderful panelists. In the startup world, we, nothing to do with the revenues, but from a maturity perspective, we call startups 0 to 1, 1 to 10, and 10 to 100. So I'm assuming that the three panelists that we have today, and I'll formally introduce them later, are representing these three different stages of a startup. And therefore, it will be very interesting to understand their startup stories and their scale-up experiences, or as well as scale-up plans for somebody who's just started. So, without much ado, let me also thank a variety of people for which we are here. Rohan Builders and Express Book Service are partners. Bhau, of course, is the venue host for us. So many thanks to them. So without much ado, I'll hand it over to Eklavya to tell us what this book about. And hopefully he's read the book, so he'll tell us what the book is about.
This theme, as nice as it sounds, startup to scale up, is just a subtle reminder and a dig at a breath that we can no longer keep on calling ourselves a startup. We also need to scale up someday. So we figured, since we've not been able to get the answer to this for so long, might as well hear it from the people who are actually doing it day in and day out. And the book that we've chosen for this topic was actually recommended to us by Sucheta. So thank you so much, Sucheta, for the recommendation. I have to confess, we get a lot of recommendations after every session. This is one of those rare ones which we have actually taken upon seriously. And yeah, thank you so much for that. And also for introducing us to Aditya Arora, the author of this book. Aditya, as I think some of us will probably know, he is pretty much a youth icon in the startup world. And he's the CEO of Fart Capital, which has itself invested in about 120 startups till date. And he's also an angel investor, having a portfolio of more than 20 startups. All of this while not yet being 30 years old. His co-author on this particular book is Surya Pasricha, who is the founder of a media company which has collaborated with some of the leading brands in India. And the two of them together have penned down 15 case studies. And the book is called Startups of Bharat. Now, as the name suggests, this particular book is not really looking at giving us a download into those typical names that we always come across. So there's no mention of the Flipkarts, Olas, Mintras of the country. This is more of a deep dive into some of those lesser known companies, and the only premise or the only sort of caveat which they've given down for selecting these particular companies is that the founders have to be less than 30 years old, and the ventures that they've built should be at least multi-million-dollar businesses, if not unicorns already. And the other thing within this book which again captures the essence of Bharat, as the name suggests in the title itself, is that it's not really centered around the usual suspects of Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, or the NCR region. We have a flavor of Indore, Lucknow, Surat, and our very own Pune also. So there's a diverse representation of cities and towns rather than just the metros, where we know that the ecosystem is already in place for startups to flourish and thrive. So despite daunting odds, how have these 15 odd companies really broken through? That essentially is the thesis of this book. Now, I know that we've come across several such books which basically touch upon this topic of startups and the origin stories. But what really differentiates this is that one of those rare occasions where we are actually hearing it from investors. We are not really reading about it from the founders themselves. This is not somebody who is actually penning down biographies of various founders who have made it big. This is coming from investors who have, in the last few years, they've gone through more than 10,000 startups. They have actually listened to over 10,000 startup pitches, and that puts them in a sort of a vantage point when it comes to really talking about what essentially is it that makes a startup tick. And the whole idea behind this is that, I'm sure a lot of us would be aware of some of these news reports and statistics that keep floating around, that India requires about 15 million new jobs to be created every year to grow at the desired pace. And despite those 117 unicorn startups that we can boast of today, despite the fact that we have over 1 lakh odd startups already in the country, registered startups, they are still not able to create jobs at the scale which is actually required to keep up with this pace. It's astounding, one of those things which I learned from the book, that while 72% of India's startup founders are actually less than 30 years of age, barely 15% of the startup employees also fall into that age bracket. That's quite a telling stat if you really think about it. There are only about 15 lakh people out of the 1 billion workforce that India claims to have today. We have just about 15 lakh people who are employed in the startup ecosystem. That's absurdly low. And that's one of the things which they are trying to basically correct, or at least bring light to it, courtesy this book. And of course, they promise that there are going to be other follow-ups to this as well. So the whole idea is that if we really want to be a nation which promotes entrepreneurship, which promotes self-employment, and also leads to value creation and job creation, we need way more startups than what we have today. Now, the way in which they are trying to get through this entire journey is not by giving a sort of eagle's eye view or just an investor's perspective that this is what works, this is what doesn't work. They've chosen these 15 companies because each of them had something which was a very unique step or a phase in a startup's evolution. So right from ideation, when every idea seems like an opportunity, but nothing really gets into fruition, or getting into the pivoting phase, when all you seem to be doing is running into roadblocks and you have to keep on metamorphosizing into something else. Every second day you are running a different business model pretty much. Or how do you attract investors' attention? How do you know when it is the right time to go solo or to take up on a co-founder? Do you really require mentoring? Do you really require somebody as an advisory panel? Do you really require technology, or is it just going to be a new fad that you pick up, spend a lot of money chasing some kind of elusive success which doesn't really materialize? Or even the most basics of things, like how long can you afford to bootstrap? And when does it become necessary for your business's survival to go in for funding? So each of these questions, which typically would go through any startup founder's mind, they have tried to address it with a unique case study of one of these companies which they have included as part of the book. Now, again, the other thing of this book is that these are not companies that are very sort of, should I say, popularly known. I'm sure some of them must be quite well known to perhaps a few of you, but for me, a company like Annie Mall, I had never heard of them earlier, which is basically a cattle trading venture. It's a tech platform for dairy farmers to put up their cattle and basically set up a trading auction for cattle, which apparently is way more lucrative than normal farming, whether it is in horticulture or crops, dairy farming seems to be the way forward for the country's farming population. And this came about in a hackathon when these students, these young co-founders, they actually chanced upon this idea thinking about their own life back in the village, where they realized that one of the biggest pressing problems is that if somebody is a cattle farmer, if somebody is actually trying to get into dairy farming, they have to face exorbitant entry costs to actually go and participate in these trade fairs which take place within the villages or within the local areas, and then there is no guarantee that they'll get the desired price, and hence it basically keeps them away from this potential business opportunity, which otherwise seems to be extremely lucrative, way more than just growing crops or livestock. So all of this was founded by 3 students who came together and decided that, okay, the first thing that we need to do if we really have to launch a business venture which tries to address this problem is try and get into micro insights. So it's all very good to do your secondary desk research and basically collect as many data points as you can, but nothing beats primary research. And that's one of the first chapters in this book, which basically tells us that at the end of the day, if you really want to launch a business, launch your own startup, go out there in the market, understand, listen to the people that you're trying to solve this problem for, and try and validate, is this a problem which is repetitive? Now, this is something which you don't come across. The problem that you're trying to solve, is it a repetitive problem, or is it a problem that once solved will not rear up its ugly head once again? So that's one of the insights which they have tried to pass through from this particular story on Animal. And then there are others also. Similarly, there's a company called Blue Learn, which is one of those edtech platforms which actually has managed to survive till date, which has again been founded by these bunch of students from BITS Goa. And the way they founded it was basically through blogging about their daily experiences on this massive campus that they have in Goa. Just by vlogging and realizing that there are students from lesser colleges, maybe from the tier 2, tier 3 colleges, who are extremely keen to understand what life at an IIT or a BITS might be like. They realize that a lot of people are reaching out to their YouTube platform and also asking them that in addition to the campus life and everything else that it offers, what about the learning opportunities? What is it that you learn differently? What is it that sets your faculty apart from ours? And that's when they decided that what about a sort of a platform, which is a peer-to-peer learning platform, where students from different colleges across the country can interact with each other, and they can decide that, okay, this is a student from a college which I've always held in sort of great admiration, and I wish to learn from that person. So it's a peer-to-peer learning platform, which again, like Animal, which crossed, I think, 4,000 crores in transaction value within the first 2 years of its inception. This particular company also, I think in about less than 4 years, they've already amassed a student community of about 1.5 lakh plus students. There are about 600 colleges which are empaneled on it, and they are reaching out to across 700 cities in the country. Now, these are numbers which, again, I'm sure none of these founders would have even dreamt of when they started off. Like one of the chapters in the book is on Physics Wala. Again, for most of us, it's a brand that we can recognize, we are aware of, but I'm sure we don't really know much about the initial days of Physics Wala and how it came about. And over there also, one of the key learnings over there which comes out is having a growth mindset. So over there, the growth mindset gets exemplified that when the co-founders decided to set up their first online lecture, the first online class, where they were going to basically invite students from all over the country to register, they created a tech platform which could accommodate 5,000 students simultaneously. And their thing was that if we get 5,000, this is it. This is the pinnacle of our dreams. First session, 50,000 students went on the platform and attended the class. Expectedly, it did not sort of make it through. They had to change things on the fly, but that's when they realized that, okay, whatever idea that we have come up with, it seems to have traction, and clearly we were just being constrained by the mindset that we can only reach out to a finite number of students based upon our limited experiences of having taught in a small town or having taught to a limited number of students. We were actually not able to think bigger because our experiences did not allow us. And the Physics Wala co-founders went on to state that this became like an inflection point for them, that whenever they dream henceforth, they're going to dream big, because clearly they're not aware of the potential that the market presents itself. Now, there are many such other, sort of chapters or case studies or companies which are being chronicled. There's Chai Sutta Bar, which again I think is just a case study in terms of how do you name something which gains a lot of popularity while you're not really staying true to that in any way whatsoever. It's not a bar, they're not selling cigarettes over there, they're just selling normal cups of tea at very affordable pricing. But because they were so constrained for funds right in the beginning, again, this is a bunch of college friends who started doing this as a means to supplement their income, and they did not really have the budget or the funds to hire anybody to do the interiors for their very first outlet. So they just decided to borrow sundry items from their friends, and somebody gave them like a wooden plank which had the words Chai Sutta Bar on it. And that's how the brand, which today has 650 stores across 300 cities, was born. Most of it bootstrapped. So these are all stories of basically companies which have now made it big, but clearly they were nothing but just seeds of an idea initially. And how they've traversed the journey is essentially what makes it a must read. And one of the things which I mentioned earlier, like the Pune factor, which again probably for some of us that would be like a very close to heart story. Vedant Lamba, the son of Anil Lamba, some of you would recollect he was one of our panelists a few months ago. He's of course one of the most famous chartered accountants and finance gurus there is in the country. His son was studying in St. Mary's School in Pune. He's a high school dropout, Vedant Lamba. He started off in 2017 by vlogging on YouTube, and he had a channel called Main Street TV, which eventually became what is today known as Main Street Marketplace. Main Street TV was a platform where he was basically vlogging about sneakers. He would review new sneakers, he would talk about all these latest shoes which we were not really privy to, which we were not really having access to out here in India. So things like your Yeezys, your Jordans, your Supreme. So all of the premium streetwear, the premium apparel which is available in America and Europe, which we in India perhaps don't have easy access to. He was talking about all that, and he realized that he was getting such tremendous engagement on his channel that he decided, what if I become a reseller for these brands? And as we know that basically in such a case where where you're selling something which isn't easily available, scarcity becomes your premium to charge more. Today he's selling shoes on Main Street Marketplace which range from anywhere between 25,000 rupees to 8.5 lakh rupees. If you can, do check it out, because again, like I said, it's the Pune connection. Maybe that's what makes it a little more heartwarming. But also the fact that it's a school dropout, it's a high school dropout who decided that formal education is not going to give him what he requires because he had already chanced upon what the market wants. And all of this has led to him, I think he has now 3 physical stores also, 2 in Bombay, 1 in Delhi. His primary clients include Ranbir Kapoor, Ranveer Singh, Karan Johar, Tanmay Bhatt. All of the influencers in the country swear by him. He still continues to vlog. He's a popular influencer, if that's what you can still call an entrepreneur, who has already scaled the 100 crore mark in terms of top line. But the amazing part of it is that this is Anil Lamba's son. And for most of us who would recollect that session, all the things that Anil Lamba was talking to us about in terms of the fundamentals of finance and everything else, Vedant has clearly bucked the trend, and he's basically forged out a path which for most of us didn't even seem like it can exist. And this is just one of the many stories which are basically captured so beautifully in the book. So essentially, this book is going to answer some of your questions, some of those lingering questions, is going to allay some of the doubts or fears that you may have. Even if nothing else, the book itself is worth reading for that one solitary chapter where they essentially talk that at FAD, how do they evaluate startups? What is it? What are those do's and don'ts when it comes to pitching your startup? Right from the very basic when it comes to how do you evaluate an investor? We spend so many hours, so many sessions, so much of brainstorming takes place over things like how do you evaluate a startup? I'm not sure how many startups are investing an equal amount of time in deciding how do you evaluate potential investors. Which is going to be the right fit for you? What is it about that investor which can really be something more than just the money which it brings to the table? And how do you really decide that this is the time for you to go out into the market and seek some external funding? So only for that one chapter itself, because again, like I mentioned earlier, these are not things which we often come across in our daily reading. So that's why this book actually manages to sort of put itself apart from all the other books that are available in the market on similar topics. So Sucheta, thank you once again for introducing us to Aditya and to this book. We do have copies of the books which are being sold outside, thanks to Rohit and Express Book Service. And to capture more in terms of how do we really start creating value in this journey, like Advait said, 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 100, as the case may be in terms of startups which are basically going up the ladder. How do we start taking those baby steps? That is what Ajinkya, Kirti and Priyanka will be able to throw more light. And so we move on to the main feature of today's session, the panel discussion. But as always, a little bit of a fun quiz before that, just to whet our appetite and make sure that some of us get 5-star chocolates from Advait. So the first question that we have today is again keeping up with the Pune bit that we were speaking about a little while earlier. Who has purchased Sahyadri hospitals?
Manipal.
Okay. Manipal in association with? Just to make it a little more difficult. Or like Advait was telling me to ask, which round of Sahyadri sale has this been? Is it the 4th time it has been sold or the 5th time that it has been sold?
They will lost count.
They've also lost count. Okay, another easy one. Who is going to become the first woman CEO and MD of HUL? Yeah, that's Priya Nair. I think you get another chocolate, sir. Sorry, who's Jwala?
Who's Jwala?
What is this insider information that we are not
Got it, sir.
Which automotive brand has added Bentley to its India roster this month? Yeah, Skoda Volkswagen has added Bentley as the 6th brand. So Bentley will be selling their 50 cars which they sell annually in India. Over the last few years, they've been averaging 50 cars annually. Now they'll be selling it through Skoda. And yeah, keeping up with Volkswagen, they've also announced a couple of weeks ago that they're launching the luxury car Golf GTI, and they've roped in a brand ambassador for the same. Yes, that's right, just speak Umra.
Yeah, I think so.
So, if anybody wants any chocolates, Ashay is the man to contact. Oh yeah, okay. There's a pickle brand which has started its Ayurvedic range this month called Hearty Roots Ayurveda Pickle. It's a Pune-based pickle company.
Organic breakfast.
Did somebody say Mother's?
Mother's recipe.
Yes, Mother's recipe. Kaushal gets it.
From bakery to
Well, for certain that everybody's going to answer Suhana.
which we got.
I was certain everybody will get it, that is Mother's recipe. Okay, another one, simple one. Which multidisciplinary university is starting its first semester this month in Pune, Bhavda? And
He's a faculty, it is wrong.
look at your moonlighting. Nikhil also must be working for Infosys or TCS. Okay, which is the newest entrant into the quick commerce space? They've just launched in Delhi last week. 10-minute delivery service.
Amazon.
Yes, Sachin, that's right. Amazon now started off.
I was
with
wondering whether this part of the auditorium is silent.
Okay, maybe ending on a little somber note. So we know that Fauja Singh passed away in a very untimely fashion last week, I think. Anybody knows at what age he ran his first marathon?
114.
89.
89, that's right. It would be difficult for me to calculate if you go by the year, but yeah. At 89, he ran his first marathon. And I was telling Advait that he ran his personal best of 5 hours 40 minutes in 3 years post his first marathon in Toronto. So the only reason I bring it up is for Advait to get inspired. Thank you all so much. I'm Vikram Malhotra. Over to Advait.
Okay. I don't know why there are some more 5 stars still left, but anyway. So let me formally introduce our 3 panelists and start the discussion. I mentioned 0 to 1, 1 to 10, so I'll go by that order. Please join me in welcoming Priyanka Khandelwal Gupta. Her startup is called CH2, which I believe is called Common Sense, Health and Happiness. So healthy and happy I am, common sense, let's see. Otherwise she's, before this, it's a new startup, but otherwise she's worked in Fitter, Credit Suisse, and some other blue chip companies. And now it's a new journey, so all the best to her. There was a soft launch a couple of days ago, which we were happy to get invited to, and we actually did. Fantastic place in Koregaon Park. It's a sale for you. And thank you for coming here. Next up is Kirti. Oh wow, she's there. Kirti Datar. She, along with Milind, have started Cane Bot, Shark Tanker, Thai Nurture alumni, and recently funded by the likes of Ajinkya Rahane, Vikram Sathe, and our very own Indranil Chitale and Amit Paranske also, right? Amit Paranske. What she does, I'm going to not talk about because then I'll ask her to talk about. But cane bot, so cane is sugar cane and bot is bot, as we all know. But we'll understand from her what her story is. So thank you, Kirti, for sparing your time. And last but not the least, Ajinkya. Where are the panelists sitting back? Okay. Ajinkya Dharia, again, Shark Tanker, Thai Nurture alumni, and founder of Pad Care, which is into sanitary pads, recycling kind of thing, and we'll obviously understand his story as well. So thank you, Ajinkya, for taking your time out. Okay, so we have 2 mics and 4 of us. So Priyanka, if you don't mind, and Ajinkya, if you don't mind, we'll start with them. Yeah. No, I'll give her a microphone. So since you are actually in a startup mode, baby startup, so tell us about what is your startup, more importantly, why? How did you think about it after your corporate life?
Why? That's a good question. Why is because life happened.
Okay.
So the foundation is called CH2 World Foundation. CH2 stands for Common Sense, Health and Happiness. 3 things we all need in life. And yeah, I think I needed to learn that. That's why it all happened. So the journey started when we met actually, some 8 years back. Mm-hmm. So that's when you just get that feeling of being Mukesh when I tell this story. You know why.
Yeah.
So I have this tumor inside my spinal cord, just below the brainstem, and it got diagnosed 7 years back. And it is rarest of the rare, incurable. There is no solution for it in this entire world. And all the neurosurgeons across the globe had only one thing to say, that you are young. So even if you get paralyzed, you might recover because you're young. So that's the only option.
Thankfully, that has not happened.
Well, just a risk the pessimist.
Okay.
So, so the risk is that I can get paralyzed at any moment, anytime, just like that. Face down because of the location of the tumor. If it were in the lower back or something, then at least just the legs are at risk. Now, so I just went with the flow. I said, okay, just do whatever is required. So went through the surgery and that's when life changed. So before the surgery, only my left hand wouldn't work. So I can't pick up things with the left hand. And after surgery, the left hand, right leg was getting paralyzed during the surgery. So I have tingling, numbness, loss of sensation throughout the body now. I don't feel touch, pain, cut, burn, superpowers. And Then developed cervical spondylosis, kyphosis, vertigo, scoliosis, everything that can go wrong with the spine. So 5 years were all with willpower, gratitude, right? Thank God that at least my right hand is working. What if it were the other way around, right? So grateful to God that that happened. I think I didn't learn my lesson still, so things got real worse in 2022 when I also developed a thermoregulation dysfunction. So I think I'm already turning red. So with heat, whenever there's suffocation or heat or anything that creates heat, I cannot tolerate that, and there's a lot of things that happen. So anyway, cutting the story short. The diagnosis was the start of it, and 3 years back when everything went for a toss. Oh, by the way, the tumor is back after surgery, so the risk still remains, and with all the deficits. So that's when the question comes that how do I survive? Because the body heat also increases when you get angry. Forget about going into the heat. Even if I get angry, the body heat increases. Even if you eat food, body heat increases. So how do you live then? So that's when, while finding a solution for myself, I at least found a solution to live. And that is the motivation to share it with everyone, because common sense, health, happiness, ऊपर नीचे होते रहता है पूरा time, and that's life, and that's how it is going to be always. But getting stressed, getting overwhelmed is a part of life. But how do we, kind of I would not say live with it, but learn with it and grow with it. And where is that space when you feel overwhelmed, stressed, or you don't have answers, confused, lost, anything? Where do you go? So I couldn't find a place, so we're creating this space, and that's what it is in KT, and that's the big.
Thank you so much. One thing I forgot to mention while introducing Kirti is that her co-founder Milind and her husband is also here, so welcome Milind. So Kirti, very often when we talk to startup founders, we say that if one of you is a founder, let the other person still work in a corporate, the kitchen pot has to boil, etc., etc. And both of you, after your corporate IT high-paying jobs, both of you quit together and are in the same startup and are working together. So what is the story?
So the story is, okay, there are two aspects to it. One is the risk aspect, and second is the compatibility aspect. So I think I'll address both of them. So
You still have to address compatibility?
No, so how does it work, right? So how does it work? The compatibility is a major question that has to be answered, because your co-founder and your spouse, when you have the same person, unless you are really compatible, I think you'll pull out each other's hair and run away from both the things, the marriage as well as startup. So going back to how it all started. So Milind and I, we were colleagues first. We met at a company and we were working together, and that's when we got married. And that's when we became spouses. But the point is that we already had a working relationship, and because of that, I think that comfort of working together, working as a team, it came to us naturally. Maybe we had to adapt to the marriage life. So, when we are talking to each other, sometimes my mother-in-law is like, okay. So it didn't feel like family, it felt more like office discussion. So that I think was a natural part of it. But I'm talking about quitting together to get into this particular startup. Yes, that was, I think, one of the boldest decisions of our life, because both of us were at the peak of our careers, earning well. But at the same time, we believe in all in, and we knew that if we have to make it successful, or if we have to make it happen, then just having one person going to the startup and the other person continuing the job will never make it succeed. Because I still strongly believe that running a startup requires a lot of things. Apart from skills and abilities, it's also the temperaments, different kind of temperaments that are required. So you actually require complementary skills, and that's what we realized that we both had. So now, for the sake of that safety net of one person's salary, going alone and trying to either find a co-founder who has complementary skills or navigating alone, both of those options seemed more riskier, I think, than quitting and getting into it together. And I think even today when we look back, I think that's one of the wisest decisions we did. Had it not been both of us into it, I'm sure that we wouldn't have been able to reach where we have reached today.
So as a co-founder, known devil is better than unknown devil, is it?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'll kind of come back to that. But before that, But yeah, IT job is fine. So anything in IT would have been the most natural. How did you come out with this sugarcane juice and the robotic AI-based machine for that?
Right. So it's a long story, but to say that when we worked in IT, one thing we observed, we traveled a lot to Western countries and all, and one thing we observed, especially in the Western countries, US and all, if we look at it, most of the companies who have scaled up, they started with something very fundamental, very basic, right? And there was a kind of a pattern that evolved when we looked at those companies, that most of them, what they did was they picked up a simple product, they kind of standardized it, and they created a brand around it, and then they scaled it up. So it was a kind of a formula, I could see across, like you talk about M&Ms, you can talk about any kind of brands in US, even whatsoever it might be. So it all starts with standardization, it all starts with organizing some sector, creating a brand around it, and then scaling it up. So we were always on a lookout for something of that sort, and of course we had a lot of inclination towards contributing positively. See, of course, as you rightly said, getting into an IT company, creating an IT consulting firm was a very natural progression. But then we would have just done more of what we were already doing, right? And maybe on more or on less, I don't know, but doing more of what we were already doing. So if we had to risk our lives, quit our job, and get into something, we wanted to create a little more wider or meaningful impact. And that's where we were always looking for something wherein maybe some kind of farm association should be there. That was one of the facts for sure, that there has to be a farm association, there has to be a health association. So those were like parameters we were revolving around. Yeah, and that's where when sugarcane juice somehow got attention, it kind of ticked a lot of boxes that about the impact aspect, as well as an organized sector which can be standardized, which can be marketed, and which can be scaled up. So it ticked a lot of boxes which were already there in the brain as a kind of pattern, and that's when we thought, okay, maybe it could be worth taking a bet on that basically. Yeah.
I think we know each other for long now. I know ever since your engineering days, you used to tinker around. How did you get into this field?
So before engineering as well, right? This journey started when I was quite young, maybe I was 8th standard or 9th standard. I'm coming from a family background where I observed my grandparents were doing business, but particularly where my mom was used to work with the small help groups in a village, trying to do something for them. So always that idea was in the mind to do something for the community. I definitely, but if it's kind of not just doing, but building a scalable business out of it. Fast forward to that, I did my mechanical engineering, spent probably just 10% of entire 4 years in the college, right? Most of the time, 90% I was used to, not saying
this college. So then you can say
but 90% of the time I used to work with maybe different projects, breaking the stuff in the labs. I got good mentors that time as well. Started luckily if you look in 2014, 15, 16, 17, government started good number of hackathons, right? That was a golden era where a number of grants were coming into the picture. They were trying to push. And in that pursuit, I started the thought process to what are the problems, how I can identify the problems in the community and the surroundings. I was looking certain kind of reading startups that time where Ether was in very early stage, mostly in hardware product development side. But this particular idea, right, engineering probably is just more about tinkering, participation in the hackathons. But I personally choose to work immediately after graduation to work one startup called NanoX, which is a joint venture between ISRO and IIT Delhi as an R&D engineer. And purposefully I choose there to work that particular where I can get a chance to work under CU. So that how they think, how they act in real life, what is the gap. And those days, early 2017, where I used to spend time probably in a day, morning 9 to evening 9 at IIT labs, and the late evening I started again. What I can do, because मैं जी रहा था, but वो मजा नहीं आ रहा था, कुछ तो missing feel होता था, because I always wanted to do something myself for myself. Then as an engineer, typical एक चीज पे अटका नहीं, so I started working on different problem statement in agriculture, EV, and this particular problem statement around pad care, which is sanitary napkins, right? As a man coming into this particular topic, it was a little bit offbeat. But probably is luck or probably right timing. Government has launched one hackathon under the Department of Biotechnology. It was clearly mentioning about the problems they are facing around sanitary napkin or sanitary waste disposal. And that particular period, I visited Pune as well. And luckily, Swatch, I got a chance to interact with the Swatch people. And again, I interacted. Someone during the book as well mentioned that primary research, right? I just asked the question. I spent half a day with them. I observed the problem. Everyone is okay with the dry waste, wet waste. When I mentioned the sanitary waste as a problem, there was immediately that a shocking moment, right? Because I observe how they are segregating these pads and diapers by using bare hands, right? And it's going into the landfill. So I observe the gap, but again, that is a gap. As an engineer, I can just come in with a technology, but dhanda banana, question mark. So I just applied for the DPT grant. I received 15 lakhs in March 2017. But घर पे बताया नहीं because क्या करूँ, job करूँ या वो छोड़ के I can start my own business, or it's just not about good. मतलब जो topic है, it is very niche. And then finally, I spent time with my parents. I asked, I was crying. Actually, they were happy because I was doing something different. But that is something how the journey started in July 17. And it's been 7 years. And then again, the entire journey, if I look back, it's the right timing with the right people, with the right guidance. And right now, we are again scaling up.
So when you broach this topic to your parents, friends, other family members, what kind of reaction? Why this? Because unfortunately, even today, it's hush, those terms. But 7 years ago, it was much more taboo. So, what kind of reactions you got from?
So, if you look the time that I took between March 2018 to May 2018, before communicating to the parents, I was fighting with my own self. Right, I was my own psychology. I have to be confident. Once I got a clarity, नहीं यही करना है, तो कोई भी कुछ हाँ बोले ना बोले, मुझे इससे सब आगे जाना है. So, I broke that first barrier in my mind. Then when I talked with the parents, that time I was crying, literally crying, and they were like, "Ajinkya चलेगा करके like 3 महीना तो करेगा, नहीं हुआ तो क्या? कुछ ना कुछ वड़ा पाव तो बेचेगा, right?" So that's where the importance, where family or your surroundings and network in initial days is quite important. For friends, probably I'm never mentioned to them. So I started working on that after 3 months when success or initial success got some media has published about pad care. तभी पता चला जिनके गायब इधर इतने दिन गायब था, right? Because I wasn't in touch with them for minimum for 3 to 4 months when I started the venture. But yeah, that was a part. But when I started doing a primary research, I got a good amount of feedback, backfire. Still, people at certain kind of age, particular women group, still they don't mention about sanitary napkin as a word in front of me. But it's fine. I have to also acknowledge their challenges, their surroundings, from which background they are coming from. I have to provide a comfortable platform to them so that they can talk about their problems. So we change our model. I never try to change the behavior, but we change our model so that they will become comfortable to talk about these problems.
Okay. Kirti, coming to you, again, similar question. When both of you decided to jump into, what kind of reactions you got from you mentioned mother-in-law, but other family, friends?
The funniest thing was, गन्ने का जूस क्यों बेचना है? I still remember, of course, okay, the little background. My father was a government job. He worked as a judge in a court, okay, and he retired as a district judge. So, of course, we were brought up in a very, very disciplined and education environment. Ki haan, ye padhai, ye college, ye job, kind of thing, basically, because that's
So,
how.
गन्ने का जूस बेचने के लिए पढ़ा है?
Exactly, right? गन्ने का जूस क्यों बेचना है करके. That was, of course, so yeah, certainly, because see, always in India, sugarcane juice is looked down, and it is as a profession being done by people who are not educated, not privileged enough, roadside drink here. So it took quite some time for people to understand that why did we pick up this particular product. They're like, okay, you could have done something else, why Gannika juice, right? So that question remained for quite some time, and I still remember one of my mommies when she came to Pune, and she saw some machine that they had got ready by then and all, and she's like, अच्छा मुझे अब समझ आया. Otherwise, I was thinking इतने पढ़े लिखे हैं दोनों क्यों, So yes, this was because see what happens is, as a founder, when you have a vision for something, it's just you have the vision. You don't have it on paper. You don't have it in material. You can't tell people what exactly are you envisioning. And I think that's where the opportunity lies, right? I mean, if सबको दिखाई दे जाएगा, तो then it doesn't make you the unique in that particular aspect. So until it actually came into existence, the machine that we built, or at least the initial prototype and all, a lot of people actually thought we were crazy, and I'm sure that some of them were vocal enough to tell us, some of them were decent enough not to tell us, but I'm sure every time Milind and I would meet some of our ex-colleagues also. So, and because I was working in like manufacturing process management, it is like hardcore niche technology thing, right? And suddenly selling Ganeka juice, working on something which was not even visible today. So, and the point is the product that we built, the machine, right? It took a lot of time for us to bring it to the world because it's an innovation, right? 6 months, 1 year. I mean, at one point of time, even my parents were like, "Tum लोग कर क्या रहे हो?" So yes, that was a long journey and a little difficult from the social perspective.
So you mentioned manufacturing process technology. So you never thought we'd stop at making a machine rather than selling juice?
So see, ultimately that is the idea. But first you have to prove your own technology, right? I mean, if I go and sell the machine today, people wouldn't follow the SOPs as they need, because see, any kind of automation when you do, there are a lot of SOPs that needs to be followed. When you do an automation in factory, there are a set of trained users who use factory automation mechanisms. But here it's a retail automation. Here it's going to be at retail locations. So if we sell the machine and if people who are operating those machines or refilling the stock, if they don't follow SOP, there are going to be issues, right? So that's where the ultimate intention is to be able to sell the product. But I think that's the journey we have to go through it, where we have to first ourselves prove how it works and then pass it on, basically.
Priyanka, no, lot of startups, like you yourself have said, start because of personal experience. Either they go through something like what you've done or some close relative kind of thing. Now you're in an initial stage, like you said, baby startup. Now, how are you going to convince others in terms of, eventually you'll need investors, co-founders, partners, etc., and employees? What's your sauce? What's your secret sauce in terms of attracting them?
Attracting. That's it.
Okay.
When you stop doing, when you stop trying, when you stop fighting, that's when magic happens. That is the learning. That is my personal learning. And literally, in fact, it's the first time I'm publicly talking about CH2. And एक तो नाम ही ऐसा ले लिया, common sense, health, happiness. It's been actually 3 years that we've been working on it. CH2 को हो गए 1.5 साल, but we're still baby. Like she was saying, right, you have to prove it only then, because you also have to be convinced, right, that it works. Only then you have the conviction to tell someone else. So कुछ time तो मुझे इस नाम को बोलने में ही लग गया कि do I even have the, that self-doubt which always is there, that am I actually going to talk about common sense, health and happiness? That's a huge responsibility, especially common sense. Health, happiness, I know very well. I've been there, done that, experience. But yeah, common sense is a big one. So, well, fortunately, I think the problem statement itself is it's for everyone, right? Whether you're a child or you're an adult or you're an 80-year-old, common sense, health, happiness resonates with everyone. And in terms of investment, in terms of attracting the right kind of partners, actually that's how it has been happening. You saw on the launch, right? I had no clue who those people were. Hardly 20 people I knew out of the 200 that actually walked in one day. I was simply, so the partners also, how it happened is Dr. Mahajan, who's Sayadri Hospital, he's the spine neurosurgeon. So he was the one who's seen me in my worst and of course had no solution. But I call them the good doctors, that they would just listen and give, that listening ear. And that is what is needed to solve the problem that we've picked up, right? Which is, the key is emotional wellness. So it's just become
So emotional wellness, health and happiness, I can understand. Why common sense?
Because when emotions are the key, when your emotions are in place, common sense, health, happiness, सब ठीक रहता है. The moment your emotions are haywire, common sense उड़ जाता है, goes out of the window. Again, experienced it. आप कितने भी smart हो. That is what leadership is. That is what anything and everything is. That is what entrepreneurship is, right? Every day you are thrown with some crazy problem that you've not thought of or imagined, And whoever is emotionally balanced, only that person can go through that grind, can go through that madness, which has happened. When I say magic, doesn't mean ki magic matlab la la land ekdam every day is like oh wow. Uh, Magic means you are able to see solutions even when the problems are there because your emotional balance is in place. So whether it is business, whether it's parenting, your child comes home and like for example teenagers, my son is 14 and I've been listening to everyone since the last 4 years, oh my god, dangerous period is coming and all. I'm like, yeah, but like if he's getting overboard, my response will decide what is the future of that person, our relationship, and somewhere the world also. So, emotional wellness is the key, that is where the focus is. And the product actually is so, this is a product as well. So, we have a clothing line. Common sense, right? That wearing the right kind of clothes in the right kind of environment. वो भी हम नहीं याद रखते. And again, that's when I say that I've learned my lessons because I have such heat issue that I have to meticulously plan what I'm wearing. And when I say that linen and cotton and hemp fabric, this is the kind of fabric, trust me, you wear polyester, go to work one day, come back. Next day, you wear a linen clothing, which is again depending on the weather. You wear the right kind of clothing, you see your mood will be different. That level of common sense, we forget it because we are so into the outside grind that these small, this is all about awareness, self-awareness. So at CH2, the whole idea is to create that experience. See, knowing is one thing. And in today's world, knowing is the easiest. In fact, people are more confused now, right? With my experience with Fitter, being into the physical fitness part as well, Fitter has done great work, right? Creating awareness, educating people, giving everything out for free and truly creating inspiration. Knowing is one in today's world, but doing is where the magic lies, and that is where the tough part lies, right? Because you have to do it. And that's where community becomes very important. That is why we're an experienced community space with all possible holistic wellness opportunities along with allopathy, with Ayush backed practices, so that research is the key. Again, my problem, right? So rare that there's no research on that. So, and the way I look at it is, if things can help me, then aap log to please, yaar, come on. Come on, yaar, Advait, you have to lose weight. Come to stage 2. I will take it as a challenge. Let's work on it. Exactly. That is, and then for that, see, it's not that you don't know about it. The right kind of space, the right kind of environment, the right kind of people. For me, obesity ka sabse bada issue, jo, again, with Fitter and all the experiences is, one is lack of planning and organizing skills. It's not that आपको नहीं पता, आपको पता है, मैं बता दूँगी, 1 घंटे में समझा दूँगी, you'll get it. But having the right kind of food with you all the time, that is the key. Otherwise, we get hungry and then whatever comes in front, we eat. That's where everything fails. So that is one. And second is community. When you're with the like-minded people, it is all infectious. We just had ice bath today. So 2 people were so scared. They all were so scared. One dipped in, came out. The other one dipped in, came out. And then both of them, it was so beautiful. They kept inspiring each other. And they both finished 6 months and came out. So motivation, happiness, all of this is infectious. Just being in that energy.
I need to change the topic because it is coming. So Kirti, founder, co-founder, spouse, that's fine. But how do you inspire others? How do you motivate others? Saying that we have a startup, we have this vision, we don't know what's going to happen in the initial years. How do you attract your first employee, your first team member? How do you ensure some of your vendors start working with you and presumably, they also realize that you're a startup? How did you manage that?
So one thing that we did was we have built our company publicly, I would say. Right? We have been very vocal about things since day one. When we didn't have anything, we still spoke about it on LinkedIn. Especially LinkedIn is a platform that Milind and I we use more frequently. And we have built publicly. And there have been times when things didn't work. We also wrote, "Was ye machine nahi ban raha hai?" Yeah, ye issue aa raha hai. So we have always shared our journey. And I think that over the period of time have had such a wonderful compounding effect in terms of people have been watching our journey. They have built a kind of, I would say they can relate to us, right? So And also, third thing is about the kind of product that we have built. The technology for India is new, it's innovative. So I'll tell you, we have been extremely fortunate about getting the vendors who have been working with us. I mean, literally, touch wood, every single vendor partner who is working with us, we call them vendor partners because they are a part of our journey. So they are the best in their industry, be it our legal firm, be it our OEM manufacturing partner, or be it, in fact, now we are onboarding Havas. I don't know if you know about them. They're a UK-based media company, and they are now going to start our social media, right? So, honestly speaking, for the stage at which we are, we couldn't really have afforded any of these vendor partners. But I think it's the journey that they are looking at, and it's the product also that they relate with. And I think it's also Milind and I being very, I would say, being very authentic about whatever we are doing. See, we were very authentic, right? I mean, ये नहीं है तो नहीं है हमारे पास, ये है तो ये it is what we are. So I think that has helped. So we have found that most of our vendor partners reached out to us. They have told us that I want to get associated with this project. You tell me your cost, right? That's how absolutely have been for us, and we are really fortunate. I think partly we could succeed at this journey just because we have top-notch people working for us, right from technology to, as I said, the compliances to any aspect of it, including now social media and all. So we have been extremely fortunate to have gathered interest from such people who are best in their industry, and I think that just makes our journey a little more successful.
So did luck play any part in this?
Okay, so of course, see, luck is always there, always, right? I mean, luck certainly plays a part, but I think it's also sometimes the persistence and sometimes the credibility that you gather while you move on, right? I mean, see, when a particular founder does something good once or twice, it can be considered as a luck. But as a founder, when you're consistently putting your efforts, you're being credited for your journey, and we've had a lot of milestones. We got National Startup Award. Okay, there's some credibility built up. We went on Shark Tank India. Okay, some credibility built up. We built our first MVP product, which was not even commercial grade product, and we were invited at ICC World Cup, Chinnaswamy Stadium. So to showcase at such a huge global platform where pouring rights are reserved only by likes of Cokes and Pepsi, and they took a special exception to serve sugarcane juice because they loved the innovation that we did. So I think each of these steps over the period of time kind of built a lot of credibility. And when you start building such kind of credibility, I am sure that people who are watching you, they also start trusting and they also want to be associated with that journey. So I think in that sense, yes, luck has played a part.
So it goes by the saying, the harder I work, the luckier I become. So it's that way. Okay. She mentioned authenticity, and I remember a story. I heard a story from somewhere that there was a startup founder who was waiting at a GKR, the Nekar juice kind of thing in Mumbai, for his startup pitch, and he was sort of practicing it there. And that गन्ने का जूस वेंडर also was listening, and he said, "सर आप धीरे बोलो थोड़ा, मैं भी अगर बहुत जल्दी काम करता हूँ तो जूस का क्वालिटी अच्छा नहीं रहता." And then the story goes that this startup founder went and pitched, and he was authentic, he was genuine, and he actually narrated that story to the potential investors. And to cut the story short, he actually got funding. And one of the reasons they said is that because you are authentic and humble enough to learn even from your Nika juice vendor. So authenticity plays a very, very important role. Interesting. Ajinkya, what is your definition of success? I mean, it will change over a period of time. But when you started off and you started building your team, hopefully attracting people, what was your, जैसा अमिताभ बच्चन बोलते हैं पहला पड़ाव, दूसरा पड़ाव, so what is your definition of success? How did it change over a period of time? You've been in business for 7 years.
So, if I compare to the stage of the business, right? So, for me, the success or failure is just a two-side, right? It's all about how you enjoy the process in between that. And the results is something we don't have to care. It's all about that happiness between that process, how you enjoy. But for me, when I look back to the Padcare, the 0 to 1 journey specifically, the success is something, the first success, to be very frank, and it's entering into that ecosystem, right, of venture center ecosystem, where I still remember Dr. Premnath wrote that particular word, Ajinkya is coachable. मैं उसमें ही खुश हो गया, right? And there is no something, but I got an entry to that ecosystem is important. But then when I enter in the actual world of building a pedicure, and when I look down, is every action that I was taking to probably building a certain product or probably expecting certain or interacting with a certain kind of stakeholders, right? Probably women, probably maybe vendors, and getting at the outcome, like successful outcome and the results, right? That is something I started enjoying that process. And when I was enjoying, that is something how I define. Again, when it changed to the 1 to 10, right? When the 0 to 1 to 1 to 10, then it's just not about achieving something which is very micro, right? If I'm doing something, I'm getting immediate result. How I can create a ripple effect into that system such that without me or with me, I will get a desired result as outcome, right? So it is not linked to just between the Ajinkya, but when I was fitting or building a product, it is very direct. Right now, it is more about indirect, how certain processes and systems is I am able to get a desired results. And in 1 to 10 journey, when I look for the success, it's just not about the funding or the people or the product. When I look back 7 years journey, recently we opened our first corporate office in the Banner, right? And when I touched probably first 100 plus headcount, when I've reached probably first $1 million revenue, when I've reached that level, जब तक वो मिल रहा था ना तब तक मुझे वो था hunger था, but एकदम reach पहुंच गया ना कि yes ये हो गया, then you immediately change your success definition to the next level, right? And that is the probably the journey of entrepreneurship, right? It is something just not stop somewhere. So for me right now, how when I will probably define the success for the pedicure, probably when I will able to make or create impact on a probably 100 million women across the world, while creating just not about on people but on the planet as well, parallel. And in between that, जो भी आएगा, maybe probably monetary value and all, it is just an outcome. But satisfaction जो आएगा, success जो आएगा, this is something how it change. Initially, it's just fitting that product, getting an immediate result. Right now, it is mostly outcome basis on the larger level. It's mostly vision. Yeah, that is something how it change.
Did you experience any pushbacks in any
हाँ, largely I think हर दिन में probably एक success के पीछे और एक win के पीछे almost 9 loss रहते हैं और 9 different challenges होते हैं. But one thing I just want to share in 2023, after 5 years, almost 4 years of R&D and all, we launched our first factory in Sus. It started running 7 days and क्या हुआ? Because I think that was in May. I asked my facility guy, just भाई बारिश आने वाला है, just do certain kind of moderate work. So welding करने बोला. Welding का spark हमारा, because we get the pulp at the outcome, right? Or pulp is cellulose. उसके ऊपर आया, and within the 7 days, my entire factory was burning. And again with that cost conservative, ये generally because we are coming from grant, ज़्यादा पैसा भी नहीं रहता है, तो एक रुपया बचाने की कोशिश में आप different insurance agency के साथ बात करते रहते हो, and insurance भी नहीं था. But when I look, it was a challenge for me. But वही दिन मेरे लिए change भी लाया, like how immediately within 7 days, my entire team rework on the system. They tried to do everything best, and our systems, entire factory was up and running after 7 days. Right? So that built me confidence कि अजय तो अकेला नहीं है, your team is there with you. So for me, that is also like small success definition where I'm not alone. My team is behind that. Then recent challenge is something my Bangalore factory where because of regional issues, they stopped our factory because one of the employee was not speaking Kannada, local language. My entire factory was stopped for almost 10 to 15 days. They asked us to move from that particular area because local people started extortion and all the process to move. Again, that is okay. That was the first time I tried to manage it. But again, that is something I got a learning. I got a new mindset how to manage this kind of challenging situation, how to ensure to become stable, right, in any kind of scenario. So ये अब होते ही रहता है, but I started enjoying that, to be very frank. I started enjoying this uncertainty. And कभी-कभी uncertainty नहीं रहती है तो मेरी कभी फटती है कि यार कुछ तो गड़बड़ कर रहा है, कुछ तो गलत कर रहा हूँ मैं.
Okay.
normal day is not is
Yeah,
can't be
this is
normal.
something you
Okay.
get used to that.
Okay. One question first to you and then to her as well. What was that moment where you thought कि yeah ये खाली मेरा idea नहीं है ये चलेगा?
So exactly in 2020, I started like first model that what we have developed. It's kind of hand dryer model, right? We thought like build a system where you can put the parts immediately you'll get processed, and it's mostly machine selling model. We have deployed almost 10 products. You know that T bus, that T buses, there are 15 to 20 buses around the city. So 2020 May, I think invested around 20 lakhs rupees. We have built the 15 machines and we deployed. Then again, I was happy, the first product and all, and immediately I started getting the calls from everyone because this is MVP, right? So I started Ajinkya, the machine is not working. Then I started getting that little bit pushback. This is the model is not gonna work, right? So that time where like that is a pivotal moment, right? This where I thought it's just not about the engineering product. It is continuous iterative process. It's just not about 1 year or 2 year game. It is gonna maybe take a minimum a decade to build a good business out of it. There will be a good number of pushbacks where you will try to invest the money, probably you will not get desired result. Probably there will be people you will trust and suddenly they will back out because, so again, that is expectations gap and all. So that day in 2020 where I observed, I think it's just not about engineering product or you are not just focusing on to develop the product, it's more than that. And this is something how I learned that when, and this is a fact story where during COVID, we little bit pivoted and developed this disinfection unit for the mask, where Sahyadri was our first client. वो product बनाया मैंने IP बनाया and then IP I was trying to sell my first product in the market. I tried to sell at minimal cost. That time Mr. Firodia from Kinetic Group got in touch because they want to do something and they purchased that IP. And तभी वही product वो चीज how this at scale with almost 10x extra pricing they able to sell into the market. I was just looking at impact. Then उधर मेरा shit oh it's just not engineering but आपको धंधा भी सीखना पड़ेगा. So that's something is where I got clarity. No, it's just not about that. It's all about journey. It's gonna take time and you have to build your network.
When and how was your aha moment?
So when we got this product ready, I mean, of course, it's a very long journey. We built the prototype, and then finally we got a minimum viable product, what we can MVP, what we can call it as. So when we did this MVP, what we did was, of course, factory mein trials chal raha hai and all, but that doesn't happen really foolproof. So we thought we will take it out. So we took it out from the factory and we put it in our own society. Lobby, it's a fully automated machine. You have to pay and then it gives you juice. So we're like, okay, अपनी society में ना सब अपने को जानते हैं, पैसा गया juice नहीं आया तो भी कोई गाली नहीं मारेगा.
Society वाले बोले नहीं pocket दे दो.
Thankfully, no, they have been very supportive about it. I think nowadays, there's a lot of awareness about startups, supporting them, and also thankfully, yes, a lot of people are really supportive. So we just did 1 week of pilot in our own society, and we faced so many issues. Like every now and then, machine is breaking. ये नहीं हो रहा, but ठीक है, because constantly one of us would always be there. Out of all the team members, we are there, and we would refund the money and all those things was happening. But also during that time, some people visited us.
You are still on your society WhatsApp group?
Yes, we are. Yes, and everybody's proud of us. Now especially they are proud of us. So we did that and the machine kept on like, हाँ यार, this समय juice नहीं आ रहा है, this समय overflow हो रहा है, this समय कुछ तो हो रहा है, because of course it was still at a very early stage, not every sensors were being tested that and all. But also a lot of people visited us from venture center and all, some team members came, and of course there were pictures on social media. And then Times of India publishes an article about us saying that, okay, an IT couple making sugarcane juice cool or whatever. And it catches attention of this ICC World Cup, Mr. Brajesh Patel, who happens to be managing the Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bangalore. And they invited us to put our machine in Chinnaswamy Stadium for World Cup. अभी एक हफ्ता सोसाइटी में भी नहीं चल रहा था हमारा मशीन और वापस फैक्ट्री ले गए. So they called up Milan and they're like, I'm Brajesh Patel, and it's like, okay, it's like, we want your machine for the World Cup. So we heard, then they wrote a mail, we said, ठीक है आप mail भेज दीजिए, when we are not ready, we don't know, we said, okay, you send the mail, we'll see and all. So long story short, so we went to Bangalore, we told them to meet them and tell them that we can't do this. I mean, with all due respect, we appreciate, but we can't do this because we just have one machine and that is still not commercial grade. And literally when we went there, they're like, okay, but we've seen the videos. I said, yes, that way it works. So it's like, you tell me what you want and you do whatever is required. We still have 2.5 months from now for World Cup. We want to support you in whatever we can, but we wanted to bring your machine here. And we actually, next 10 days, we went to Bangalore to tell them no. Because we were like, we can't say no to such people over phone or email. We should at least respectfully meet them and say no. And when we went, we were like sitting in his cabin, his monitor is in front of him, and we're like, okay, Mr. British, being authentic again. We are a startup. I was like, okay, and we don't have much of resources. We have only one machine. We have, we don't have enough team also to, execute. He's like, and then he turns his monitor. He's like, look, I have done all the research on you. I have spoken to my contacts in Pune. Only that's the reason you and I are sitting here and talking today. Like, okay.
So he had done his own work.
Yes. So when people instill so much trust on you, where you yourself don't know, and then we were again Milind and I were coming back and flight में we were like यार हम तो नाम बोलने गए थे अभी समझ में नहीं आ रहा है क्या करें. I'm like ठीक है देखते हैं. Next 10 days we kept on thinking and we spoke to a few mentors and all. Finally we said कि चलो ठीक है करते हैं. Whatever is required on a war level पे करेंगे. 2 महीना है. We actually pulled out that project. We went there and imagine for 1 month we are serving at a global platform of Chinnaswamy World Cup where BCCI and everybody, all celebrities, they're coming and they gave us a space in their club because we had only one machine. They said 20 gates पे लगाना है. I said इतना तो machine है नहीं हमारे पास. So they said कि ठीक है हम लोग club में लगाएंगे so that members who visit to watch the match they can enjoy it. So I think that was a very a moment where we thought that even when we are not ready, people want it. And people are excited about it to an extent where we are telling we are not ready and they are telling okay we are ready to support you. So they gave all the support to us. Like our entire team, they sponsored our stay, everything in that club. They said juice is on the house for all their members. They paid, members didn't have to pay. So that was a
But you got paid.
Yes, of course, we were paid. Yes. Thankfully, as I said, we were always paid, right? Even as I society people as well. So we were paid, thankfully, yes. But I think that was one of the moments where we thought that yes, and the best thing that happened was at that place, of course, there were who's who were visiting the club. PVR was one of the sponsors for World Cup. PVR came and they're like, okay, we want to do Pan-India tie-up for all the PVRs because it's a wonderful product for PVR. So, a lot of opportunities. Of course, we were still not ready then. PVR wanted us to do a 1-month pilot with them in the Bangalore itself immediately after World Cup. We were like, हम लोग 1 महीना कैसे तो हम लोग अपना machine चला रहे हैं. चला, it worked very well. Of course, every night we used to sit and fix some sensors, fix some things. But throughout the day, we pulled the show, and I think that was the moment where we thought that sometimes when we don't realize what we are building, but I think the way people react to it, that gave us a lot of confidence that was, I think we are moving in the right direction and the world is waiting for what we are building.
This is a fantastic story. Priyanka, you mentioned baby steps. So what are your next baby steps for your startup? पहला पड़ाव क्या है in your mind?
Right now the focus is on operations. Like she mentioned, right? And we are a not-for-profit organization.
Okay.
It's a Section 8 not-for-profit. So for us, similarly, like help has just been coming.
But I always remind people when they say not-for-profit, doesn't mean for losses.
No, we are Section 8.
Yeah.
The more profits we make, the more impact we make.
Yeah.
So I also pay for my yoga classes.
Okay.
Now my team is after me also, and I'm cost because I'm the founder. So it's a Section 8 not-for-profit. So whatever profits we make go to the causes, which is sustainability, elderly care, women education, skill development. So help has been coming. Sorry, what was your question?
What was your
First step. So first step is operations. So वो मैं कल ही इनफैक्ट ये बोल रही थी पहला पड़ाव हो चुका अब बना लिया the whole madness like she was mentioning about crazy stories right similar मतलब literally ताजमहल बना लिया और फिर इवेंट हो रहा है मतलब नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ नेचुरोपैथी डॉक्टर लक्ष्मी सत्यलक्ष्मी मैम इज कमिंग फॉर साउंड हीलिंग हम फुल रेडी है और ऐसी बारिश हो रही है पूरा फ्लड हो चुका लीकेजेस लाइक क्रेजी. So we're shutting all of those off. So yes, I think all startups, we all have those crazy stories. But right now, operations and because the whole idea is to curate experiences, and experiences are created by people. Right? Taj Mahal bana lo, kitna bhi bada money mein there is no competition and there is no end to that. But it's the people. So that is where I think my focus desperately is on operations. that people are flooding. I'm literally like, the gates are still closed. I'm not opening the gates entirely. I know people will start coming, but are we ready? That is where my focus will be.
So you're actually controlling demand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Wow. That's a nice space to be in for a startup. Yeah.
It is, and actually, it's overwhelming. I mean, precisely because the kind of people that are stagnant support, and I totally resonate with you that, those are the times when you're like, क्या है यार, मतलब क्या पूरी दुनिया पीछे पड़ गई, चाह क्या रहे हो, रुक जाओ, मुझे समझने दो कि वो क्या है. So we're in that. So we've already. So the next step is Thailand. So in October we will be starting off retreats in Thailand. Then Armenia is opening up. So we're working with the Ayush Ministry. And my aha moment was when I went to meet Dr. Satyalakshmi ma'am, who's the director of NIM. So first time meeting her, and she just asked about CH2. I just again said my story, whatever I said. And then she invited us next day for a function. And she literally comes with that MOU and she's like, sign. And I'm like, okay. And my husband is into this whole PPP thing. So he's like, this is the first MOU signed with Indian government in 36 hours straight. In history, I can tell you, kabhi nahi hua hoga.
Fantastic.
So I think that's the support that we are gaining. My question to myself and my team every day is, are we ready? And I think every single day we're inching towards it. It's always one day at a time.
Okay. I'll take a pause here. Does anybody have any questions for any of the panelists? No one?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, my question is to Kirti madam, regarding how will you scale it up now? Like a vending machine for sugarcane, what I understood from your talk. How
How
can
will
I
you scale
scale
it?
it?
Can I add to this only? Can I add to this?
Yeah.
Please.
What is your idea about scaling up now? Is it in terms of the people? It is in terms of geography? It is in terms of product? Because the moment you try to expand in the product, you are trying to venture into somebody else's area, which is already there. I mean, Pepsi is there, whatever is there. So in that case, when we look at your idea of scaling up, exactly how you look at it now?
Okay, so I think for the benefit of audience, I'll briefly tell what exactly is the product about. So basically, this what we have built is a vending machine, which is a fully autonomous machine. It has a screen and it prepares and serves fresh sugarcane juice on demand. It's like, imagine like an ATM machine, right?
In front of you.
In front of you. So imagine like an ATM machine. So it's not a pre-prepared juice packed in bottle that is kept in the machine. Actually, machine ke andar ganna stored hai. You as a customer walk in, you select what you want. You can select lemon, ginger, mint, etc. Make the payment using only UPI, no cash. And once you make the payment, we have a nice transparent window from which you can see that one cane is coming, it is getting crushed, and your glass is getting filled. And when that paper cup comes out, you pick up, you walk away. There's no human operator involved. So to answer the question about the scalability, the whole idea of making this tech-based solution was to make it scalable. Okay, because see, the sugarcane juice is one of the highest consumed beverage in our country after tea, but it's largely an unorganized sector. If we try to organize it by making it, something like a cafe coffee day or any kind of these kiosk model or a juice shop model, what happens is it doesn't become scalable for two reasons. One, all sophisticated places attract a lot of rental cost. If you have to put a kiosk, you require a large space for 2 or 3 people to operate, give your raw material and so on. Human beings require horizontal space. Machines can use vertical space and we don't get charged for vertical space. That's how we actually looked at it. And our machine is actually 7 feet tall.
Wow.
Yeah, so when we use the vertical space, we don't get charged for vertical spaces. So the idea is that the kiosk model can solve the hygiene problem in case of sugarcane, but it cannot solve the feasibility or profitability problem because the rent attracted and the manpower costs that will go to operate that. And end of the day, you cannot sell sugarcane juice at a very premium price because it is a product which we have been consuming since childhood. It's a product for masses. So keeping that in mind itself, we started the whole this tech part because our machine is just 12 square feet, like 4 by 3. So now versus at least 100-150 square feet that gets required by a kiosk. So it's like our rental cost are 1/10. Our manpower cost is almost 1/5 or 1/6 of what it would be requiring. So that way there's an 80% reduction in operational cost. 2, it's not a fixed asset, it's a moving asset. So in terms of scalability, we can have, as per what market we have studied in India alone, if we target only tier 1, tier 2 cities, we can deploy at least 60,000 of such machines. and institutionalized setups like business parks or malls, hospitals, colleges, etc. So minimum 60,000 of such machines can be deployed. Of course, the models would evolve as we go forward. We have franchising model, we have a lot of other ways it can be done. The model would evolve, but the idea is to make it scalable, and that's where we have invested so much of time and effort in building these machines. And if I have to give a quick reference, we have these kind of orange juice machines which are developed by one of the Italian manufacturers called as Godan Fresh. So they have already deployed 6,000 plus machines, orange juice vending machines. Similarly, Singapore also has them. So Singapore alone has 700 plus of these orange juice vending machines. Because vending machines are small. Metro stations, hospitals, everywhere you can put them. You don't require a person to operate it. It runs on its own. So the whole idea is to make it actually scalable.
Yeah. Was it cane right from the start, or you had some other?
So we started with cane, but now we will move on to other products, because while building the product, we realized that the technology that we have built, I think even if we have to move on to any other product, 75 to 80% of the technology will be reusable. And with 20% of modifications, we can cater to more products now.
So will the name change from Canebot to Fruitbot?
We were nice, I would say. Yes, and it has to.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I'll come back. Yeah.
I think this is a question across the board. Like being a startup founder myself, and I see like one quality across the board is that all three of you are very grateful with the kind of support and experiences you've had. Like, has there been a moment in your journey up till now where things didn't go well? You had given those experiences, but did you ever think of pivoting to something else, and how did that happen that you still stuck on your course?
If I look back the entire 7 year journey, right, there will be moments. Actually, कभी-कभी monthly भी हो जाता है. यार ये नहीं करना चाहिए था, ये कर रहा था, कुछ नई startup funding आ गई. So it's all about, but it's generally temporary, right? And what I feel that this it is just not about you are taking the small run of 100 meter, right? It is a marathon. It is something you have to there, or it is probably you have to look in the long way. And in that journey, what important and how Badkir has got help is due to the network, to be very frank. And I'm lucky to have this kind of network, probably Thai Nurture, Advaita is something we got, Thai Nurture we got connected, Venture Center ecosystem in early stage. The question that what you have asked for, right, ki there will be a doubt. Doubt तो हमेशा होता है, ऐसे नहीं कि नहीं होता है. But that I feel that doubt is something, how utilize that our doubt is very important. If there is a sense of doubt and I'm not taking any action against that, then that is more riskier. If there is a sense of doubt, I'm taking action, revalidating it, still right, we reach at a good level in terms of business. Still people ask, like investor, there is one common question I ask the same. At the pre-seed, how you will scale, seed, how you will scale, pre-series A, how you will scale, probably series A, how you will scale, right? But then, it is important to see you already scaled from pre-seed to right now probably pre-series A. You have come a long way, and it's okay if someone is asking for how you will scale, because that is something how you will get pushed. Your boundaries, that what you have defined around you, probably it will get pushed. So yes, so utilize this sense of doubt in a positive way. And the questions are gonna remains the constant across the game. And this is something when I'm raising my third round right now. The question is same. Investor पूछने से पहले मुझे पता रहता है कि ये question 3 आने वाले हैं. I'm prepared, I'm ready, and just go on. So that's it.
You have a question.
Yeah, question is for three of you. Basically, India's problem statement is unemployment right now, and you have very innovative solutions. Especially CH2 is innovative, Badkir is innovative, Canbot is also innovative. CH2 is going to create a lot of employment, I guess. Same thing with Badkir. The question is for Canbot. So basically, it is going to replace a lot of street vendors. So is there any vision or plan so that you can rent your machines to them and they can earn out of it, keeping the technology and hygiene intact? They will also continue their business.
Yeah, so I just want to correct the word there, replace, that you used. So see, the idea is not to replace the street vendors. Okay, until now, sugarcane juice was available only on streets. Now it is also, let's say, available in a mall, like recently installed in Pavilion Mall. Now, when you go to a mall like Pavilion, I will tell you, when you go to food court, You don't think कि मैं बाहर जाके गन्ने का जूस पी के आऊँगा. The options you have is KFC is serving Pepsi or Coke. Someone is serving, something of that sort. So you have to choose from those options. The whole objective here is now with Caneboard being there, parents are happy that when their kids come from their gaming zone or whatever, and when they want to have a drink, they are choosing sugarcane juice over a carbonated drink. Okay, so that's one part of it. Two, regarding the manpower, see, though it's a fully autonomous machine, the manpower requirement has shifted from an unskilled labor who's making juice to maybe an electronic engineer who's building my machine to a farmer who's now processing the cane for us, cleaning it, sorting it, packing it, and so on. So the manpower requirement has shifted from, let's say, front end to technology to back end. Not that it has been reduced.
Somebody has to feed the machine.
Yeah, somebody has to feed the machine also. Of course, the machine has to be refilled, right? So that also has to be done. So the idea is that it's not that we are replacing something that has been there. We are just adding on to more availability of this particular product so that consumers just get a healthier option and farmers get their due fair price rather than we, let's say buying carbonated drinks and it doesn't help anybody. That's the whole idea.
I think his question is, can we imagine a Caneboard machine in a Rasvanti Glow?
Answer is no, because the positioning is different. But yes, of course, if a Rasvanti Guru's son wants to do something more and better in life, he can certainly have one of the Caneboard machines being operated in a business park or maybe Bhava Institute or COEB kind of institute. So the idea is not to see again if we take this back to road, तो कोई फायदा नहीं होगा ना इतना सब करने का. So idea is रोड पे तो है ही, नारियल पानी है, sugar cane juice है. अगर मैं रास्ते में चल रही हूँ and if you think it's hygiene wise okay, you'll consume there. But when you go to institutional places like malls, offices, all these places, वहाँ पर नहीं है, option ही नहीं है. So we're just making that available there. So yes, they can adapt to these locations rather than putting that on the
So
street.
it means your competition is not with Rasvanti.
Not
your
at all.
competition is with Praj. Because they are going for a lot of ethanol. So,
No. Okay, one question there, yeah.
We have a food security system in our country, right? So, yeah. Ajit.
बिजनेस ग्रो करने के लिए माइंडसेट कैसे बनाएं और उस माइंडसेट को बनाने के लिए जरूरी है अपन बना देंगे माइंडसेट और जो कॉम्पिटिटर्स है आपके साथ बहुत सारे कॉम्पिटिटर्स होंगे तो आप कैसे स्ट्रेटजीज बनाते हो उनको बीट करने के लिए.
So I feel in the real life mindset ना घिस का बन जाता है because there is some different factors. तो उसके लिए कुछ मेरे पास भी solution नहीं है. But the first thing, what important lesson I have learned, सबसे important है how you manage your own psychology, right? It start with you. So initially when I mentioned, right, I took 3 months to convey my parents that this is something I wanna go. I was fighting with my own mindset, how I can manage that. And couple of times it is hard, like the business or startup is not easy. Today, if I'm taking a 10 decision in a day, उसमें से 9 decisions होते हैं ना blur area में रहते हैं, उसका हाँ भी नहीं रहता है, ना भी नहीं रहता है. But you will see the pattern, right? It is something how you improve day by day. जैसे baby grow होते रहता है वैसे तू गिरे, मतलब it is something how तू गिरेगा, तू उठेगा, then you will start अरे ऐसे नहीं करना चाहिए था, ऐसे करना चाहिए था. So this is incremental process. If you want to just bypass it, then hire good people. If you have good money, just get a more experienced people from day one. Because if when I started, I was 21. I didn't have a background as well. My best experience I got after learning only. But it will help to reach out certain scale. उसके ऊपर जाना रहेगा. So definitely the experience right now, the stage we are at, it is not a journey where again I should spend, because you are fighting with the time, not money and other resources. How fast you want to scale. So the second question, what you asked? Competition, right? For right now, for the pad care tech, there is no direct competition across the globe as an IP level. But if you look, the sanitary napkin consumption probably will lower down, probably by utilizing the menstrual cup and other biodegradable product. If I consider that competition as well, probably now, not for the future, after maybe 10-15 years. One thing what we are doing that when you develop the tech, if the tech is just for one, I think in that book, it is mentioned that when you're doing a research and this problem is gonna just solve, or your product is gonna solve only one problem and that the end of story, that is not scalable business. So build a business or service which is scalable, which can be replicated for different market.
What we call product to
product to platform. And if you start thinking about competition, you will probably will start just thinking about that. You will stop thinking innovatively, and you will end into there are two, right? Blue ocean and red ocean. You will end into the red ocean. If you want to be in a blue ocean, I think if you have read the book called Blue Ocean Strategy, where it is clear, like there is something where you want to end at, right? Which is where you will have a natural more demand. It will be more pull rather than push.
Sir, yeah, I'll come to you.
Priyanka, I mean, why do you have so much potential in India? Why Thailand or why somewhere else?
Like I said, you just start attracting. Aage ab karo. So no, Thailand. We went to Thailand. We love Thailand. So we're also husband and wife together, right? So Thailand. Yeah, actually, there was an interesting story. We were walking on the road, and so my husband works with the MRC and these PSUs and all of that. So we were just walking down the road, and we were having nice fruits while walking, and that's when I told him that one of the major issues in India is accessibility to healthy food. Again, I know I want to eat healthy. All of us know, but how many times, अगर आपको मैं भी बोलूँ, make a better choice, छोड़ नहीं है, seriously चिपक जाता है, डांट के motivate करके जैसे भी. So the problem is accessibility to healthy food, right? So that's when we started talking that, for example, in Singapore also, in packets you get those nicely cut, such amazing fruits, and that's when the whole Thailand bit started. So we have our partners there who are the biggest fruit exporters of Thailand, and then the whole and health. The Thai government got very excited. The second was Thai people. The Thai people are so humble, and hospitality is like in their blood. And they're so process oriented. So when it comes to healing, for example, for me here in India, finding the right kind of masseuse. So thankfully we got NIN, so that problem is absolutely solved. But again, training Indians is a task. But imagine, and they are very excited to learn about Ayurveda. So the Indo-Thai partnership kind of just happened. But yes, the beginning was that thought, that accessibility, fruits and getting it on every place, which I think
she's expanding, not quitting India and going to Thailand.
No, that's fine.
No, it's,
just why Thailand?
So yeah.
So you also serve fruits eventually.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
My question is for Ajinkya sir. So sir, what I have read about you is that you finished your project, graduated in 2017 and you started Pat Care in 2018. Being a college student myself, pursuing entrepreneurship as my major subject, I want to know, and Pat Care is a disruptive idea. So what is that one piece of advice you would like to give to student founders like us who, would like to pursue entrepreneurship as our career and, get this clarity at this age?
Entrepreneurship as a career. That's nice to hear.
So when I was like final year, right, what I was doing, I don't know, it will answer your question or not. I was just exploring different ideas. I was just playing around the ideas and all, really. But two things that I've done differently. The first question, or first, everyone when the college, like generally, they try to, "Arey, paisa kaise aayega?" They don't think about what solution I can build. They start with before starting, assume there will be a bottleneck of the money. And second, ये मेरी idea है, मैं किसी को share नहीं करूँगी, because someone कोई तो copy करेगा. Maybe उसी path से गया. But these are the 2 to 3, if you want to just pursue your career, if you want to build something, start exploring, start interacting. Network is something recently starting participate in the hackathons. Still there are a couple of hackathons government launched, they put a problem statement. Number of grants are happening, like you can easily in the India, Padcare, luckily we have got almost 5 crore rupees from government grants from different schemes. You have to just look where these grants are. It starts from initial 10 lakh rupees, which is DST Nidhi. It will end to up to a crore to Niti Aayog's ANIC grant, or probably
Iraq gives 50
Bairak gives 50 lakh, ANIC which is give up to crore, or there is a Exim also give debt up to the initial founders up to 4 crore as well, depending on the business. So don't assume there is the money. I feel And definitely it's not problem if you have right intent, right idea, and you are coachable, right? What Dr. Premnath is the director of Venture Center, he's mentioned clearly Ajinkya is coachable. Initially it's all about you, right? You have to give that confidence to the environment, what you're building is correct. So yes, just go along, don't worry, don't constrain, don't assume. रुक गए, be like cockroach, थोड़े टाइम के लिए मर जाओ, but फिर से उठो, फिर से चलते रहो.
Interesting. You mentioned about money and you're running out of time, but I can't leave both of you without you sharing your Shark Tank experience. How did Namita Thapar happen for you?
So for me, I think probably you have seen the episode. We are the only startup in last 4 years probably you got a blank check offer from Piyush, right? Surprisingly, before going to that, I was lined up for 12 hours, right? My lineup in the morning, I went actually at 7 o'clock. My shoot happened like in the August, I think in that August, at late evening, 7. I was completely dried up, प्यास लगी थी, but उन्होंने announce किया कि तुझे जाना है. I've entered, but what worked well, I will come into the latter topic, but मेरे पास वो 3 मिनट थे, वो 3 मिनट में मेरे धंधे के मुझे पता था, मुझे सिर्फ बोलना था confidently, and rest is history. Because 3 minutes are gonna define next 27 minutes or 28 minutes during the question and answer. And when I pitched the idea, there was again doubt. इनको ये D2C, कपड़ा, खाना, इनके बीच में इनको ये सैनिटरी नैपकिन रीसाइक्लिंग कंसेप्ट समझ, प्रॉब्लम तो समझ में आएगी या नहीं आएगी? I will able to communicate or not. But again, luckily the things turn out quite well where everyone is acknowledged there is a problem. They appreciated there is a technology that can scale. There is good amount of question and answer happen around scalability. But ultimately because numbers, how confident you are, how you are true to yourself and the business played an important role. So again, the outcome was we got amazing credibility around pad care. Imagine, मैं 10 साल में नहीं कर सकता था कि हर एक लोगों को पैड केयर के बारे में बताना. It is more important that the revenue outcome. Imagine the man in the room sitting who's watching that episode got that breakthrough and they can talk about sanitary napkins. There is a breakthrough where people started getting acknowledging. Women can openly talk about the pads, right? If someone is talking on the platform where millions views someone are getting, right? So that taboo जो था ना मेरे लिए वो सबसे बड़ा था और it got break because I talked about that. And outcome was yes, Piyush, Namita, we are closely working. Namita is something as a woman. She carried Padcare as a brand continuously. कुछ ना कुछ होते रहता है interaction. With the Piyush as well, we are trying to launch the Hustler series because it manufactured by cellulose acetate and cellulose acetate का जो compound रहता है is coming from the cellulose, similar to the pad kind of material when we extract. Yeah, so next back we are trying because it's transparency. So yeah, it's just not about money, it's all about how you leverage them. And if I required as well, I think 2 months back, कुछ तो काम था, so I just message किया पीयूष का ऐसे मुझे connect करना है. Immediately after 5 minutes, I got a call from him. So they are also, they know this journey, right? They went to this particular path. Yeah, but it turnaround was good.
But for lay people like us, give a reality check. How much time between that Shark Tank episode and the actual money in the bank?
So shoot, like I will give an exact time where shooting is in August or September. The episode got aired in March, if I'm not wrong. And parallelly I was racing around, so I pushed them. But it take almost, I think, March as well, like 6 months. So it is a 12 months period. Only from shooting to the actual money in the account. And it is depending upon, you have to, again, there will be due diligence.
Yeah.
There will be an entire process.
No,
and you have to be also choosing.
Sometimes people like us feel that actual check will be but 12 months is pretty good.
For me, but there is different experiences.
I know somebody who took 22 months. That's why I asked you that.
Different.
If I'm not mistaken, you
Yes,
you couldn't.
we couldn't.
You refused.
No, we didn't refuse.
Okay.
We didn't get. So again, the funny story was we took the machine prototype there, and we shifted the machine from Pune to Mumbai. Previous night we served sugarcane juice to everybody, the crew and all. And next day again same thing.
So you bribed the crew.
It didn't help though. So I'm not sure whether we can call him right. So as he rightly said that I don't know, for some reason what they do is they mess up with your schedule. Later we thought maybe it could be intentional or whatever, we don't know. But they give you a particular slot and that your shoot doesn't happen at that slot. So we were informed that our slot is maybe around let's say 4 p.m. or something on a particular day. We were there for 3 days already, they do a lot of rehearsals and all. But on the shoot day, ours was supposed to be at 4 o'clock. And so we were like, okay, morning say there used to be a bus that will pick up from hotel, take us to the studio. So around se chal raha hai. And then suddenly 11 o'clock we reached there and 11:30 they say, come on, yours is the next one. I'm like, what? Ours is at 4 p.m. Like, no, there's some change in schedule, yours is next. You go to the green room, get ready and all those things. So we were like, okay, we have to look at a machine that has to be shifted properly because ek to usme itna sara sensors और सब कुछ है, plus it's just a prototype, right? So they're like, no, all that will be taken care for you. You just have to go and start pitching. Like, okay, fine. So they arranged the set for us, and before the shark came, we had to go and have a look, and we tested it. The machine didn't work. So before going and pitching, we knew that machine is not working, and we're like, can you give us 5 minutes to fix this because we know what's wrong and we can do it. They're like, no, sharks have already left from the vanity. You can't. You have to go back and pitch, and we both were like, okay, Melinda, machine is not working. We wanted to run away from there because we know, okay, it's a machine on a national television. We know it's not going to work. But we didn't have a choice. If you go back and look at the pitch, you will not believe what I just said. We knew the machine is not working, but we just put a very happy face. We pitched, we spoke, we did everything, and machine didn't work. We didn't look disappointed because we knew machine is not going to work. So we pulled the face. See, these are the moments that make us what we are today, right? I mean, see, had you been, had we been something a little weak in that moment, we would have really refused to go because national television पे machine नहीं चलना उस समय पे बहुत बड़ी बेइज्जती लगती है. See, now it doesn't matter because we have moved on. But at that moment, that is your moment to prove to the world, and you know you're going to fail at it.
So how did Ajinkya Rane happen?
Right. So Ajinkya Rane happened very recently. Of course, after that it was a long journey there. So we couldn't raise on Shark Tank, but immediately after that we got this BIDAC grant from IIT Bombay. And we continued our initial journey. Then we got from Venture Center, we got our next funding. And Dr. Premnath is again one of our investors, and they have been extremely happy about our journey because that's when World Cup happened, and then we installed our machine in Infosys. So one thing we have done is we have been very transparent with our investors as well. Right? I mean, as I said, we have been authentic on LinkedIn, we have been transparent with our investors. So we kept sharing our journey all this while. And we always kept in touch. We went back whenever we had challenge, we like, this is not happening or this is the challenge we are facing. So when you go and talk to the people, be it your mentors, be your investors, I think they naturally have a tendency to come up with some suggestion, some solution to you. So similarly, we were talking to Dr. Premnath, and he was the one who recommended us to Ajinkya Rane. So basically, Ajinkya Rane invests through NCCI. He invests in agri-tech startups. And Dr. Premnath said, okay, let's, this particular fund is there and they want to start investing, and we are one of the first startups in which they've invested actually. And he said, why don't you give it a shot? I said, okay, fine, let's do that. So of course, again, there was a process, right from application. I think it took almost a year for us also to get the money in the account from the day we pitched, because we pitched and then there were multiple rounds. And I remember last August or something when they said that, okay, you have been selected. And then, of course, there was due diligence and a whole lot of process. And finally, we got the money in May month. We signed the SHA in April and got the money in May. It was a long process, but yes, it was very interesting. Wherein one thing leads to the other is what I can say. One thing we have learned is just stay in touch with people, go back and talk to them is something which we have been doing constantly. Even today, like Indranil Chitle is also one of our investors, and we are, as he rightly said, we are just one message or one phone call away from him. And I think when we ask, people are more than willing to give. But the point is, do we have the humility to ask? Yeah. Do we have, or we think, nahi yaar, samne wala kya bolega? If you keep thinking that, if you don't ask, nobody is going to come and help you. So I think that's one thing we have learned in our entrepreneurial journey, that we shamelessly ask. Okay, I go to Ajinkya sometimes, that Ajinkya, I want, this your help in this area. Doesn't matter. And see, it's equally reciprocated. Whenever someone reaches out, we are absolutely more than willing to share whatever we have learned on our journey or whatever connections we have made. I think that's the entrepreneurial spirit that we have in our country. Because I think somewhere everybody knows that it's a very tough journey, and it's not someone's individual territory for everyone out there. Each of us are building different products, and I think that is the most beautiful part about this journey.
We are seriously running out of time. So one last question, Priyanka, to you. You can take that mic now. Yeah, so that remains the last question. Based on your experience now, what is that one takeaway that you want to leave for the audience?
I think we both have covered almost all the points and beautifully covered. One takeaway would be, I think ultimately it's all about learning to surrender. That would be the takeaway. Like she surrendered, right? That moment when she knew everything is going wrong on national television, one is, there are only two options. Either you surrender or you fight. And if she would have fought with it, तो नहीं होता magic जो हुआ. Right? This is what I keep calling magic. So surrender is the ultimate, and samarpan, sweetheart, sakshi. That's the ultimate journey. So learning to do that, and that is where your ego breaks, like she rightly said.
Yeah.
And learn to identify your ego. That is where again magic lies. Ego, जो लड़ते झगड़ते रहते हैं, जो बहुत ज़्यादा aggressive होते हैं, उनका ego देखना बहुत visible है. It's very easy, right? हम वो वैसे लोग नहीं हैं, most of all of us, right? The gentry that we are in. और हमारा ego पकड़ना सबसे ज़्यादा difficult होता है. So, for example, what I have learned, one of the things, my ego, I used to always feel कि I'm pretty much almost the doormat all the time, right? कि सबके लिए. तो फिर वो होता है ना कि जब मैं सबकी इतनी मदद करती हूँ, like I'm that kind of a person. How can I have ego? Where is my ego? And that's when I realized. So this is all the health journey that is actually, So I'm very grateful that I have this little tumor, because अगर वो नहीं होता तो ये नहीं होता जो हो रहा है.
Very positive way to put it.
No, it is. So it's all about perspective, right? Everything happens with how you look at it. So one of the small examples that I keep reminding myself also when I keep talking is perfectionism is a crazy ego that most of us have, and especially women. Oh my God, we have it so much. Asking for help. I'm sure you learned it through entrepreneurship. Otherwise, वो नहीं आता है. So ये और इतना बड़ा ego है कि कैंसर हो जाता है यार इससे. That is the learning. It's all about emotions. So learning how to identify emotions and working with them, and that is one thing we've never been taught. We've been taught about everything but that.
Great.
So that's the key.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, now the small part of our program, so let me so on behalf of all of us, we are this, as many of you know, from another friend of ours, the fragrance story, Pune-based perfumery. And there's, last but not the least, this is from Doubletree Hilton.
I remember.
Yeah, they've been around for a long time for us. Thank you so much. And then we have something from Ora Nutrition to help you in your kitchen. There's the happiness.
Sure, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for spending your Friday evening here. Our next session is on 22nd of August, Friday. We have Ambi Parmeshwaran, the marketing guru. He's written a book on marketing mixology. So we'll have a session on marketing. So any of you are interested, anybody want to keep on attending sessions, I have a WhatsApp community called Between the Lines. Please share your WhatsApp number available. and I'll add on to the community. Thank you. Thanks for everyone. Thanks to the panelists once more.
Thanks, Arvind, for this opportunity.
Thank you and have a lovely evening. Thank you.
Thank you.